We make the streams louder.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the first episode of SERGMOTIVE Garage. My name is Sergio. This is my boy Kenny.
What's up, everyone?
So Kenny, what's on today's agenda?
On today's agenda, we have a Honda Civic Si. We're going to be changing the clutch.
So we're going to take you guys step by step on how to replace the clutch on an 8, I guess you can consider it an 8th gen Si, because this is an 08. Let's get to it.
So the first step that you got to do is, first, remove the battery, remove the intake.
Alright, so when you're taking the battery out, you're going to want to take the tray out too. You're going to have two 12s right up top. Those are easy to see. But the ones you don't see are these two right here. So what you're going to want to do is after you take all your intake piping out, that'll be the way you're going to sneak your hand, because this is basically sits right here. You're going to sneak your hand under, just loosen this 12, and here, let me get a light for you guys. And this other 12 right here. Just loosen them up, because as you can see, this is just it just slides out. So that's all you're gonna do. Once you got the battery and your air box and piping all out, the next thing you're gonna want to do is you want to pop your shifter linkage out. The easiest way I found to do it is just pull these cotter pins on the shifter bushings, take those out, and then you're gonna go after the 10s under the bracket right here. Actually these look like 12s, and just pull this whole thing up as one piece instead of trying to pull these clips out. You're going to do that, and then you're also going to want to take your wiring harness out. So you're going to take, this looks like the speed sensor down here, should be your reverse plug under here. Just anything in the area that's in your way, and like this harness back here is on the trans. Anything on the trans, you're going to want to take off right now. When you guys are taking off the shifter bracket, like I said, to take the 3 bolts off, the last one right here is kind of hard to get to. So what we did was we ended up grabbing your linkage after you take the cotter pin off. Just kind of hold it to the side and get a swivel head, swivel 12 on that, and that should be enough just for you to get it in there, pop it out, and then, well, there's a clip right here. Take this clip off, and then you're just going to slide this whole unit right over.
So now that we have the shifter cable off and the harness moved out of the way, we have here a bracket for the clutch line, a ground, and then the 2 bolts for the slave cylinder that we have to remove.
So quick little tip for you guys is after you take a piece out, so let's say for this instance we took out the slave cylinder, just put the bolts back. That way at least when you go back to put everything together, you have an idea of where all the bolts are going, because for this job you're going to be taking a lot of bolts out and it's going to be real easy to get confused. So after you're done up top, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to jack your car up and you're going to take both wheels off, because the next thing you're going to worry about now is loosening up your subframe.
So here are the 3 bolts that Serge was talking about for the low control arm. You want to take these 3 off, and then also on the other side you would take out the same ones. Then here you have the front subframe bolts, one here, one on the opposite end. You want to crack these loose, but don't take them out fully. Then you have back here, let's turn this light. Back here you have the 2 back ones that you got to break loose. Again, do not take them out. Leave them just cracked loose. And then afterwards, once we drop the subframe, we'll show you how we got the power steering rack bolts out.
This part, after you loosen up the 4 subframe bolts, you're just going to want to loosen them. You don't want to take them out yet, because the next thing you're going to want to do is take these 2 out. And you can get to these 2 bolts through the wheel well. There's going to be, it's a bolt that goes up like this. Take those out first. Completely out. Once you take those completely out, then you're going to go to the front and rear motor mount. Those are through bolts. Once you take those through bolts out,
then we go into the power steering. Okay. Yeah. Alright. So now, here you got these 2, which are probably the easier ones, I would say. They're a little difficult, but once you get these 2 out, you have these here where these bolts are pretty long to take out, but you also have to loosen these here that hold this bracket in order to slide these out of the way. Once you slide these out of the way, then this whole subframe will drop and the power steering rack will actually stay up.
You're going to keep the rack up. You don't want to drop the rack with it because then you're going to have to get an alignment. But once you start dropping the subframe, you're going to see that the rack is pulling down because it's attached with the harness right here. Pop those two out, and then as you saw in the video, it's just going to slide right out. Well, you're going to have to take out the 4 subframe bolts, and then just jack it down slowly, and that's it.
What we need to do is we got to pop both axles out. So here we're going to use pry bar. Hopefully this one's big enough to pop this out. Make sure you have a drip pan under so you can catch any fluid that may come out. And there you have it, people. Only a little bit, not bad. Only a little fluid. That's not terrible. He has some clean fluid, dude. It's like brand new. Like literally, that's like brand new.
Alright, so now where we're at is we're taking the bolts off of the trans. We're going to get ready to start splitting it from the engine. They're pretty straightforward. You can see the ones in the back. We just took these 2 right here. There's a little cover that goes right here. You're going to want to take a 10 off from the bottom, and then there's a little 10 up top. Take that cover out, and now to get to another bolt, you're going to have to take the front motor mount out. It's just 3/17. Drop this out right here. And there. Take this motor mount out. That'll expose another 17 right here. You're going to want to get, and then that should be all of them on the bottom. Then you're going to have 2 up top. Those are the last 2 you get. But before you get there, make sure you put a jack stand under the engine with a block of wood, because all you got is 2 mounts left holding the engine and trans up. You're going to take the last mount out when you drop the trans, so you need something to support this engine. So the last 2 bolts you're going to want to get are up top. They're kind of hard to see. I don't know if you guys are going to get them on camera, but they're under this hose right here. You got one on this side. I don't know if you guys can see my finger right here. And then you got one in the back right here. You'll be able to see it if you're looking at the car. But they're 2/17s. Once you crack those, make sure you got a jack under the trans, because this trans is almost ready to come out. The only thing holding it is going to be this motor mount. Now, the best way to tackle this motor mount looks like it's going to be to take off this nut right here. Keep the other part of the motor mount on the trans. And that way, this mount will stay up here. The trans is going to come down. Make sure you bring it down slowly. So let's recap to where we're at. We just took the trans out. Now before, I told you guys about the motor mount. Where's the mount? Top one? Yeah, well they're already put together right there. So this is your whole assembly on the mount. The mount sits on your 2 studs right here. First, what I thought was if we took this nut off, this would stay on the body and the trans would drop. That didn't really work out the way we thought it was going to work out. Did it? So what you're going to want to do is, we were doing this on the fly with the trans coming down. You're going to want to basically take this whole unit off, because in order to do this, you need to slide the trans back off the engine to get the input shaft to slide out of the crank. And that's the only way you're going to get it to slide, because this is slotted, but it's not slotted enough to let these studs come back. This was a hard one to get, because you can see this is right on the frame. So this would be right here. You're going to have to get a wrench up this way to try to get this hidden bolt. You got another 2 bolts right here, and then the middle nut. You want to get that out of the way first.
Yep. Now the next problem we ran into was this bracket here sits just about like this. And when we was able to get the transmission out, this here hit the frame. So you have to also get these 3 bolts out, take this whole bracket off as well. Once you get this whole bracket off as well, the whole top is pretty much cleared out after that.
You got enough room to finally push the trains back and drop it. And that's
carefully.
That's the best advice I can give you. You got to get these mounts off and this bracket right off the back, and you're gonna have enough space
to slide it back and drop down.
And that's the best way to get the trans out. Once that's out, now we're going to go get the pressure plate, take the clutch off, and take the flywheel off. Now that we got the trans out of the way, now basically what we came for. Time to take this clutch out. Now this clutch, the pressure plate uses a 12-point bolt. I believe this is a 12. So you're just going to take these off in a crisscross pattern. This is going to come out. Your clutch disc is going to come out with it, and then you're going to be able to find the bolts for your flywheel. Alright, so here's your clutch disc. As you can see on this one, how thin it is, and there's really no material. You can also look at the rivets if you're not sure if your clutch is good or bad. If this is flush with your rivets, you need a new clutch. So this one's all toast. Replacing that. And here's your flywheel. This one's actually not that bad. It doesn't have a lot of hot spots on it, but we're going to be replacing it anyway because the car's got a lot of miles on it. So all you're going to do for the flywheel, you're going to want to put at least a 19 on the crank bolt so this doesn't spin if you don't have this special flywheel holder. Just get one of your buddies to hold the crank bolt with a 19, and then you're going to take these off. Flywheel's going to come off. Put the new one on, put the new clutch on, and that's it. You're good to go. So now the next step is to basically get this pilot bushing out. Now most people use pullers, any kind. It's like a 2-jaw puller, but it's a really small one. If you don't have that, I got a trick for you that you can use that I didn't believe worked until I tried it. So here's your pilot bushing. Your pilot bushing is located inside your crank right here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to find a bolt, or in our case we're using a 15mm socket. We flipped it backwards, putting an extension in this way. So this fits tight. And now here's where the crazy part comes in. You want to get yourself a loaf of bread. You're just going to break the bread in pieces and stuff it right in there. What the bread's going to do, the bread's going to act as your basic press. So it's going to compress, and the only thing it's going to do, it's going to want to push the bearing out. So you can go and just give it taps. Alright, that's it. Now get yourself some more. You're just going to want to keep loading it up until you'll see that the pilot bushing is going to work its way up. There it goes. That's all it is. She comes right out. You're going to clean your bread out and just hammer the new one right in. Using bread is a lot less messier than grease, because that's all you got to do is really just pick it out and you're done. You don't have to really wipe anything. I mean, if you want, you could put some grease on this, but it should slide right in. Just tap it lightly. That's it. She's in.
Here we have the new flywheel and the new pressure plate. Now what you want to do is, before installing this, you want to make sure you brake clean the surface that makes contact. So you want to spray it down, spray it real good, wipe it off, make sure it's nice and clean. That way you make sure there's no oil, any grease, dirt. Do the same thing here on the back of the pressure plate. And just dry it off. And now you're ready to install the flywheel, and then you can install the clutch and pressure plate.
So once you got your flywheel on, next thing you're going to want to do is torque it down to 87 foot-pounds. After you torque it down, just do it in a star pattern, just like anything else, just so it sits properly and flat and even. After you torque it down, just go one more time with some brake clean, clean it off, and then you can put your clutch disc on it. Now that you got your flywheel on, you got your clutch disc in there, and you're getting ready to tighten up your pressure plate. Before you do that, I always suggest putting some red Loctite on your pressure plate bolts, just to ensure that they're not going to back out. Now Honda specs for your pressure plate is 19 foot-pounds. If you look online anywhere, and if you ever had experience with this, 19 for some reason just isn't enough. They tend to loosen up. So I would suggest you go 25. It's not a big increase, so you don't have to worry about snapping the bolts, but it's just enough that you don't have to worry about them backing out. So torque the pressure plate bolts to 25 foot-pounds, same crisscross pattern, and you're basically done. You're just going to do the reverse of everything you did. Pop your trans back in and you're good to go. So after you get your new clutch in, your pressure plate, your flywheel, and you got all that torqued down, next thing you want to do is you want to clean your housing on your trans, especially on your fork and on your pivot ball right here. You want to clean all that off, brake clean it. Then what you want to do, I mean, I got this from Honda, but any kind of high temp grease is going to work. You're going to want to put grease on all the pivot points and where the throttle bearing is going to slide. So we're going to put we'll put grease on the inside of the fork right here. Just give that a good amount. And then you're going to also want to grease up this shaft right here. Be liberal with it. It's only going to help. Alright, and then we can put some grease on the pivot ball. Alright. Now we can put our fork back together. That's just to help it pivot. So you're going to get your, where is it, your dust boot right here. You're also going to want to put some grease on these points right here on your fork.
The contact points.
Where the throttle bearing is going to go.
And probably good to put on the throttle bearing too, just to be sure.
Yeah. I'll put some right there. Whatever I got left, a little bit on the inside. You just want this to be able to slide as freely as possible.
Right, because we noticed once we took this out, it wasn't really moving that easy. It was actually getting pretty stuck. So it's good to take it apart, clean it, put some new grease on it, make sure it'll slide smoothly.
It should just click right in. That's it. You see, you should just leave it so it slides in and out nice and free.
Like butter.
Yep. And if you want, I mean, you could do this at the last, basically when you're ready, just to slide the trans back in, but you're going to want to put some grease right here at the edge of the main shaft where it's going to slide right into the crank. That'll just help it slide into the pilot bushing a lot easier. And on the splines, that'll always help too.
Just grease everything.
Yeah, that's your best bet. You're all good to go. Now it's ready to go back in. There you have it. That's how you replace a clutch on an 8th Gen Civic Si. I probably skipped a couple steps. It was working pretty fast. It was late in the day yesterday. I just finished it up this morning. Just as a reminder, I know this is sort of like a step-by-step how to do it, but maybe you guys do something differently than I do. I'd love to read it in the comments. So on that note, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I'd appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe to my channel. This is a new channel, so I promise you guys to make a whole bunch of videos. There's a lot going on with my personal car, my personal RSX, which is this one right here. Actually, we're getting ready to take that to the track. Hopefully next year. We got a couple outstandings to fix. Kenny's car, he's got a car that you guys have probably seen a video that you guys might enjoy. Some of the stuff we're going to do to that. I'll leave my Instagram down below. I'll also leave Kenny's Instagram there. You guys can follow us there. Hit us up, leave comments. Everything's appreciated. Try not to kill me too much on this first video, though. I know the editing is going to be a little cheesy, but we're here to make a new channel, here to give you guys information. So thanks for watching. There it goes. All this is going to do is just going to click right in. It's supposed to click in.
Yeah, push that part hard.
Nope. It's not going in. Hang on. There we go.
Is where that other tension spring?
That was not right.
The tension spring goes around the bolt. This part goes around on here.
No, this stays on the fork, and what you're going to do is you're going to put it on. I'm wondering if I got it in backwards. Cut that video. Cut the video. We're going to start over.